I'm here in front of my very tiny pantry in my very tiny kitchen in my very tiny apartment in Florence, Italy. And today I want to show you some of my pantry staples that I always have on hand to make really easy meals. If you just have a few of these key ingredients on hand, you can work mealtime miracles. My first go-to that I'd like to share are canned tomatoes. The type of canned tomatoes isn't necessarily important, but in Italy, San Marzano are the best. These are a bit lower quality, but they're still made with pomodori italiani, Italian tomatoes. But San Marzano is the good stuff. Ceci in Italian are chickpeas or garbanzo beans in English, and they're a wonderful staple to have on hand, either in the form of a can, which is super easy, or the dried ones that you find in any supermarket in Florence. These are great for stews, soups, and also as a topping in salad or to make hummus. Another thing that I always try to keep on hand are these little tins of anchovies, which might not float your boat at first, but they're a bit of an acquired taste, and I promise that once you get there, you'll wonder how you ever did without them. Another somewhat controversial pick that I always love to have on hand are these capers. These are actually al sale or sotto sale, meaning they're salted. And I always, before you use any of these like really salty capers, you're gonna wanna rinse them off in a colander because otherwise you'll just be overwhelmed with the salt. And now we're getting to the ever important spice rack, and I have to say that my top pick always is peperoncino or crushed chili pepper. I prefer the flakes actually to the super finely ground version, but you can use both in different ways. This is certainly better if you're gonna make an Italian classic like aglio olio e peperoncino, but even better if you have it is to actually get dried red peppers themselves. Obviously, salt is a hugely important pantry staple, but you don't want to just use any old kind of salt. Kosher is good for everyday use. Also just a fine kind of sea salt for cooking and seasoning your food from within, or as in like when you're cooking pasta, whatnot. And then you want to have a flakier salt to use like this, if you can see, to add to salads or to season your dishes when they're ready. And now we're getting to the really good stuff because obviously we're in Italy, so we're of course gonna have pasta on hand, and we wanna have different types on hand at all times, starting with a classic like spaghetti. These really, it doesn't necessarily need to be spaghetti that you keep in your pantry all the time, but you just wanna make sure that you have a longer pasta, and preferably also a long kind of ribbony pasta like tagliatelle, which I don't have at the moment to show you. But you'll wanna have also some shorter pastas like penne, and perhaps fusilli. These are shorter pastas that are better suited to different kinds of sauces than, say, spaghetti or tagliatelle. Eggs are another miracle ingredient, always. Obviously, anytime you have leftover veggies or anything of the sort, you can just throw them on the stovetop and make an easy omelet, but they're also great for making kind of Indian-inspired staples like shakshuka, which you can make very easily with just some canned tomatoes and a bit of onion and eggs. Which brings me to onion and garlic. Every Italian sauce, nearly every Italian dish in general, starts with either onion or garlic, so you always want to have both on hand, and preferably in rather large quantities. I think it goes without saying that none of this would be possible, none of these pantry staples would be able to come alive without our best friend in the kitchen, extra virgin olive oil. Always have it on hand, and you've got your starting point for a million different recipes. It's perfect as just your base everyday cooking fat. Then of course we want to have different types of vinegars. Red wine in particular is nice, especially for experimenting with different types of tomato sauces. Remember, you've got your canned tomatoes, so with this you can add that kind of bit of bite to them. Okay, lemons. I know a lemon on its own doesn't do much, but added to anything else, what it's gonna bring is the zing. So you always wanna have a lemon on hand. And finally, a true kitchen workhorse, the potato. You can roast them, you can boil them, you can fry them, you can use them really any way that your little heart desires. So you always wanna have a few on hand, and they take forever to go bad, which is a huge bonus. Like all of these things. So we've talked about a lot of different ingredients today, a lot of different pantry staples, and I've certainly left out some things that I like to keep on hand all the time, but these are really the building blocks. And with just about 30 euros or so, you can just shop these basics and always be prepared for whatever comes your way. So these are really the fundamentals you want to start with, and then just see where your taste buds take you.